Hello, dear viewer, it's you from the future. I didn't subscribe to Mysto on YouTube, and on December 2nd, 2025, my left leg was blown clean off by a tank. Another viewer poll video today. I've got my viewers' favorite songs ever round up, and I'm going to rank them on this tier list here. Let's just dive in, shall we? Mr. Natak says, The Art of Dying by Gojira. Says, long, beautiful, heavy, emotional, technical. It has everything. What he said, pretty much. Really captivating track, start to finish. Nothing really has this sound. It's incredibly unique and arguably Gojira's best work, period. It's up there for sure. Ludicrous outro sequence on this track. I'm sure you know me and my death metal vocal hatred, but it works pretty fantastically on this track. This is a textbook GOAT tier for me. Harry Main says, To the Blade by Everything Everything. One of the most insane verse-to-chorus transitions I've heard. The song rating is also pretty compelling. Pretty fun track right here. Sensational vocals, I thought. Seriously. Some of the best I've heard in the genre, I think. Really catchy and sounds like some shit I could play in the car with my mom to a moderate, that's pretty good stuff, reaction. I like this a lot. I'm going to give this S tier. Silk GMD says, Below the Salt by Unwound. Perhaps this is a strange comparison, but I liken the song to Shine On You Crazy Diamond, albeit not done quite as well, but the song is a very rewarding listen. A lot of build-up. To be honest, I probably don't like this song as much as you do, dear viewer. I really enjoy the structure and I like the build-up itself, but I feel like it could have concluded a bit better. The rise was great, but actually getting to the top was a bit lackluster, I thought. I'm going to go back to the S tier, though. Still pretty great. Yamam1480 says Pearl by Dealer. Very different from their typically very heavy discography, but quickly became one of my faves from them and easily my favorite song for a long time now. The guitar riff backed by the heavy bass scratches an itch in my brain. The heavy breakdown in the middle is a nice addition too, making it fit better with their usual sound. I'm unfamiliar with their discography completely, and to be frank, this didn't really sell me on this band. Very kind of generic sound, I thought. I enjoyed a lot of the guitar work, and they've got a great tone on that guitar. But the sound's kind of bland, both lyrically and vocally especially. Not much going on here. Not great, but certainly not a bad song. I'm going to give this B tier. Maple Baron says Close to the Edge by Yes. I feel like Yes didn't waste a second, and everything fits perfectly and feels like it's meant to be there. One of the greatest songs I've ever heard, for sure. Every time I listen to this song, I find more shit about it I love, to be honest. Really one of the greatest long songs I've ever heard. This is what people want you to believe Echo sounds like. I'm going to give this top of the GOAT tier. Oxid3 says Overkill by Men at Work. According to my dad, I saw that episode of Scrubs where Colin Hay, the lead singer, walked around playing the song on the acoustic guitar, and it's been my favorite ever since. I'm unfamiliar with the episode and not having the same heartfelt story. I can't say this stuck with me as much. It's definitely good fun. I like the melody here a lot, and I could definitely imagine hearing this song at a cookout and perhaps busting a move. I don't think it's a song that'll stick with me for too long. It's just some pretty good new wave, not much more than that. I'm going to give this A tier. Epic Gamer says Rotten Apple by Alice in Chains. As soon as that intro starts, it's like a hit of heroin taking my problems away. If you're familiar with my game, you know my undying love for Lane Staley knows no bounds, and that's certainly the case with this track. Legendary, in my opinion. One of his greatest vocal performances of all time. Just a really unsettling track to listen to. It really does feel like a view into the psyche of Lane at the time. Perhaps even more so than Nutshell. It kind of sacrifices relatability for authenticity, I think, in this case. I'm going to give this GOAT tier behind Yes. Ari Holland's 1769 says Again by Alice in Chains. It was the first song I remember loving by the band, which has since become my favorite band, and Tripod remains my favorite album. Head Creeps is an extremely close second. This is an incredible song, and one I kind of forget about, to be honest. As a project, I find Tripod to be incredibly consistent, but never really reaching the highs you hear on a lot of their other work. This is probably either the best or at least a top 3 song on this record. Really heavy, really catchy. The vocals, again, done by the greatest to ever do it. And the way he harmonizes with his own screams on this track gets almost magical shit. I'm going to give this top of the S tier. Cloudy Keep says Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult. There's something comforting about it. Type shit. One of the most iconic guitar licks in history. A really catchy track, and surprisingly the only good one on the record it comes from. I don't know about comforting as a description, but it's an incredibly fun listen for sure, and a classic for a reason. It deserves the praise it gets. I'm going to give this back of the GOAT tier. I Snort Crouton says Let Down by Radiohead. The song genuinely helped me feel something when I was in a state of emotional numbness after my parents' divorce. I was emotionally devoid of everything until I heard Let Down for the first time. It made me burst into tears and truly started my road to therapy and putting myself back together. Fast forward 4 years later, and I have one day I'm gonna grow wings tattooed on my arm. You know me as Steve Ween or perhaps John Toole, but there was a brief arc of John Radiohead appearance from me. What the fuck am I talking about? I'm not sure either, to be honest. One of the strangest listens I've ever really had, this song. A song that really doesn't tell you how to feel. It kind of just reflects what you feel yourself. If you're sad, it's a sad song, but if you're happy, there's almost a beautiful optimism in this track, a light at the end of the tunnel. An incredibly euphoric and unfathomably beautiful song, one of the greatest I've heard in my young and hip life. And congratulations on your recovery, man. I'm happy for you. This is top of the go-to.
I beat your ass, you better not run to your father. I beat your ass, you know my patience running thin. I got
Even Zero TF2 says Fear by Kendrick Lamar, a beautiful track that talks about fear of being forgotten and makes light of Kendrick's anxieties. Kendrick's lyricism really shows itself here, in my opinion, one of his best works. Damn, an underrated album within Kendrick's actually inhuman discography. I feel like Damn isn't exactly light-hearted in nature, but it's got a lot of the hits you'd hear on the radio and then move on with your day. A track like this never really saw the light of day for me, and that's kind of a shame. It's a beautifully raw moment from Kendrick, overshadowed by the humbles of this record. Incredible lyricism, as you said, but that's kind of what you get from this guy every time. This is top of the S tier. Solomon McGuire says Streetlights by Kanye West. Said before that this was my favorite album of all time, but this song puts me in my feels. It doesn't make me want to cry, but contemplate. It's not grand or flashy like Kanye's other songs, but it feels like someone looking at how far they've come and still being sad at how long they have to go. I'd call this song great, I think, but I didn't connect nearly as much here. I think the lyricism was profound, but I don't think the production being as distorted as it is really aids that sentiment very much. I understand it harshly contrasts with the rest of this record, but I think this track could have benefited from being a bit more minimalist. I like this, but I don't love it, I wouldn't say. I'm going to give this top of the A tier. Aiden Hacker 8416 says Rosemary by Deftones. First hard riff after the slow intro makes you feel amazing. Probably isn't my favorite track off of Koi no Yokan, but certainly one of the biggest reasons this album is as excellent as it is. I find the record to be the sum of its parts, rather than a couple individual highlights surrounded by Nickelback songs. Rosemary is a track that it feels like the record was almost building to. The slow build-up is almost euphoric at this point in the record. It has that beautiful shoegazy guitar. It's got that soft, dreamlike tone in the build-up. This is one of their greatest songs, period. Incredible track. Back of the go-to. 5-5, the 911 says The Messenger by Linkin Park. The song means so much to me. The vocals feel so raw and emotional, and I love the message of the lyrics. This doesn't do much for me, to be honest. I like Linkin Park, but they've never been a band I've really identified with. I imagine if I were a big fan of them, a really sweet acoustic track like this would be great. But on its own 2 feet, not as a huge fan of Linkin Park, I don't think this is all that good. It's a solid vocal performance, I guess, but I just don't think Chester's voice works all that well with the instrumentation they used. I'm going to give this back of the beats here. Davis Fenn says Shine On You Crazy Diamonds, parts 1 through 5 by Pink Floyd, because of the build-up. 13 minutes, not one wasted moment. How many times do I have to put this in the one spot before it stops getting upvoted? I'll keep doing it until you motherfuckers stop. But on a serious note, I'll be happy to say it again. It's one of the greatest pieces of music ever made, one of the most rewarding listens in music, a must-hear for honestly anybody. This is what goats are made of. Top of the goat tier. Lilac06 says Layla by Derek and the Dominoes. The contrast between the iconic riff against the soulful piano at the end really shows the perfect image of someone pining after a love they can never have. Also the perfect theme song to driving on the highway after 17 beers. Incredibly sad track, but I don't know, fellas. I feel like the song a touch overrated. A really beautiful story behind it, and I appreciate that for sure, but I don't enjoy this as much as a lot of other people, I don't think. Not that fun of a listen. I don't really know what else to say. I'm going to give this top of the A tier regardless. Red Hood Keenan 121 says Roundabout by Yes. That song never gets old. Another one of the greatest prog songs of all time. I give the edge to Close to the Edge. But this song is equally ambitious and equally fantastic, I would say. Really just a fun and energetic listen. Can't go wrong with this track. Above Jar of Flies in the GOAT tier. DJ Does Artman says Mayonnaise by the Smashing Pumpkins. Smashing Pumpkins were a band I avoided out of my intolerance for Billy Corgan, but recently I listened to Siamese Dream and was absolutely blown away by it. This song in particular. I got on a shoegaze high recently, and I think I credit it all to this song in particular. Not even a shoegaze album in full, but damn is everything about this incredible. I love rock songs that implement this level of distortion into an overall chill, slower experience. It just hits me perfectly. A GOAT contender I've discussed maybe 200,000 times, but it's just that damn good. A song that really surpasses almost the artist itself. Like its own entity, a masterpiece through and through in every facet. It's got beautiful lyrics, incredible songwriting, beautiful guitar. This is GOAT tier. One of my favorite songs ever, above Letdown. Rob5, the Nordic Guy, says Bleak by Opeth. I like a lot of Opeth, but this song is my favorite one. Amazing guitar riffs and incredible vocal performance. Might be my favorite Opeth song, period, I think, and you might even know why. The growling is still not my favorite shit in the world, but the vocals, when they're not growling on display, are incredible. It feels like one of the most jam-packed songs I've ever heard. There's not really a moment wasted here. Beautifully progressive, hits every mark it tries to hit. Incredible song, above Rotten Apple in the GOAT tier. Stitch 3441 says High to Death by Car Seat Headrest. I'm completely shattered into tears after every listen. Really, this whole album top to bottom is enough to make a grown man sob uncontrollably, but I don't think this is one that stuck with me as much as a couple other tracks off this record. Really simple song, great guitar work, and the vocals and lyricism are excellent. This would be a standout track on almost any other record, but surrounded by the goats that it's surrounded by, I wouldn't pick this off this record. I'll give it S tier, above Unwound. The Red One LA says Over Now by Alice in Chains. It's easily my favorite song due to it being beautifully dark and meaningful send-off for grunge's best singer ever. Really strong track in the context of Lane's life, more so than I think it is a standout track on its own 3 legs. Like the dog on the cover, I don't mean its penis. Excellent way to go out for one of the greatest vocalists to ever live. I'm going to put it right above the other dog. Aaron MWW says Kangaroo by Big Star. Very broken sounding song, and I'm not sure how much of that is intentional. Kinda sounds like it's staggering drunk down the street. I agree with your sentiment here, and if that was their intention, they did a pretty fantastic job of conveying that. Even in light of that angle here, I don't think this is all that notable of a song, though. Some of the production choices were pretty interesting, I thought, but it still kind of falls flat for me. Not all that enjoyable of a listen, I don't think. I'm gonna go B tier above Linkin Park. Mini Golf Windmill says Luctus Main by Turnabout. Lo-fi synths mixed with the screaming and intense drums create such a unique atmosphere. I never thought we'd see the day a nearly flawless run from my dear viewers in these videos, at least in these best song videos. But your hot streak has finally ended, or maybe I'm being punked. Either way, this sucks balls, I think. It borders on screamo lyrically and vocally, and the trap beat is very generic and really boring, I thought. Chorus is decent enough, but every other part of this had me contemplating turning it off. I think this is a Youch tier song. Just a Rock 6747 says Disintegration by The Cure. To me, the song has been about realizing you're a bad person but trying to find an excuse, which I think is something everybody goes through and can relate to. We're right back to peak. A quick detour into Stinky Town, but we're right back to one of the greatest albums of all time. Robert Smith, one of the strangest vocalists I've ever heard. His voice, especially on this project specifically, is just almost haunting. It adds so much to this entire album, I can't even imagine it done by anyone else. A near-perfect song, beautifully written in every single way. I'm going above Letdown in the GOAT tier. Fluid Tomato says In Fiction by ISIS. Really go on any song off of Panopticon, but I think this one stands out the most. Based on the little ISIS I've heard, that's the band, not the terrorist organization. This is my favorite ISIS track. Again, the band, not the terrorist organization. Another band with relatively harsh vocals most of the time, but on this track specifically, they're not overbearing in the slightest. Really well done, really incredible build-up, very rewarding listen. I'm going to go back of the GOAT tier. Kona Peep says Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Been my favorite song for a very long time. Brilliant lyrics, very nostalgic, well-paced. Instruments have so much purpose, yet they all leave space for each other. I don't really know how else to describe it. The song doesn't feel ambitious, it just exists in its own beauty. I think that's what makes it a damn near perfect song. Maybe you've heard this track. I can't really say it much better myself, though. Incredibly simple, but it's in that simplicity that I think the beauty is really found, like you said. A band like Pink Floyd can flawlessly craft a track like Dogs or Echoes, but your uncle isn't sitting down for 20 minutes and listening to that shit. It's the simplicity of both the message itself and the music that makes this one of the greatest songs ever recorded. I'm gonna go behind Mayonnaise in the GOAT tier. JJ Squillario says Parking Lot by Mineral. Beautiful early emo song with possibly my favorite guitar part of all time in the chorus. Almost indescribably Midwest emo track, like the actual template for every hit within the genre. It's a formula that works. This is a great song, but I probably don't go much further than that. Formula that at this point I've heard kind of done to death, and while it's a great rendition of the genre, it's not doing anything incredibly new or interesting. I'm gonna go top of the 8 here. Bean Shutter 199 says Floods by Pantera. Outro is perfect, chorus is great, solos are great. A song crafted for Pantera fans to enjoy. If you like the genre, this is certainly a great song. I'm not a fan of the vocalist as a person, of course, but they're done pretty fantastically on this track, the vocals. Really great track from these guys, probably flat out my favorite in their catalog. A bit less heavy than a lot of their discography for a lot of it, and I feel it really aged the vocals here. Also an absurdly iconic outro. This gets a thumbs up from me. I'm going behind Rosemary in the GOAT tier. 8 Rye says Soma by the Smashing Pumpkins. This song is a masterpiece from the build-up and its lyrics. Give me goosebumps. Even the guitar solo, you can hear the emotion in it. Pretty excellent track, but not a favorite of mine off this project. Kind of sad core lyricism, if that makes sense. I find it a bit too on the nose, but the guitar work here is just as good as it is throughout the rest of this project. One of my favorite albums of all time, and the build-up on this track is super fun to hear. I'm gonna go top of the S tier. To the court of the crimson. This guy says, In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. Because it was the most epic song 15-year-old me had listened to so far. It blew my mind. I know everyone talks about 21st Schizoid Man, and I blame that on the late Kanye West, rest in peace, but this has always been my favorite track on this record. Got incredible production, it's beautifully simple, yet incredibly ambitious at the same time. This is what elitists live on. This is that good shit. I'm going behind Wish You Were Here in the GOAT tier. Mr. Penguin 8471 says, In the Fade by Queens of the Stone Age. Mark Lanegan is one of the best vocalists ever. Just the whole mood of the song can make a bad day good or a good day better. Really underrated track from Queens of the Stone Age here. I've heard very little discussion about this record entirely, and honestly, I think it's a fair take. A lot of this record is a pretty big step down from Songs for the Deaf or Like Clockwork, but individually there are some fantastic tracks on here, this being one of them. Really great guitar work here, fantastic bass. Mark Lanegan and Josh Homme delivering a pretty stellar vocal performance as well. I think I'm going to go S tier, behind Kendrick Lamar. Not Jason Cropper says Reckoner by Radiohead. I shed a couple tears upon hearing this, and it's just such a beautiful song. GOAT track from a GOAT band. In Rainbows, as an entire album, has almost absurd beauty in it. But if the word is beautiful, I think Reckoner might hit that target the closest. The production here is just incredible. The way the sound travels throughout this song, the lyricism itself, the vocals themselves, this is what greats are made of right here. Incredible song. I'm going behind Opeth in the GOAT tier. Kyle Crisp 2607 says Phobophile by Cryptopsy. I love death metal and everything about it, but for me, this song encapsulates brutality and beauty in one. Not to mention it rips on every instrument, and while the vocals may be hard to get into for newcomers to Cryptopsy, I think the shrieks and bellowing put a nice bow on it. You described the vocals as hard to get into, and I couldn't agree much more. As an introduction to the artist, I'm certainly impressed by the instrumentation here, especially the drums. God damn, what was that guy on? But the vocals are, I think are bad here. I'm coming around to the harsh vocals, and I can almost see when it's performative, if that makes sense. A band like Death does it, and it sounds right, like it kind of belongs. Bands like Opeth as well, and Gojira. This sounds like yelling for the sake of yelling. Actually unintelligible yelling on this track. If this were an instrumental, I'd have much better shit to say. Truthfully, these are some of the worst vocals I've heard within this genre. I'm going to go back at the A tier. HebHob123 says Zero Chance by Soundgarden. Really chill while being energetic and emotional at the same time in a way I can't describe. Super average track, I'm afraid. The entire Down on the Upside album just feels almost incomplete to me, like it could have used another coat of paint, and it just never got it. Pretty decent song, but not a serious highlight within their catalog for me. Just kind of bland. I'm going to go A tier above that weird screaming song. I Don't Know says The Romantist by The Stalin. Maybe their most popular song, but I really do love instrumentals. I'm a big fan of J-Rock too, so that's another reason why it stuck out to me. Forgot to mention the vocals. OMG. For a record released in 1982, this is a pretty great sound. Sounds a little unpolished, I guess, but that seems to just be a sign of the time it was made in. I like the vocals a lot. Really fun and energetic track. This is good. I had fun. I'm gonna go back to the S tier. Generals gathered in their masses. Argles Wargle says War Pigs by Black Sabbath. It's the song that got me into metal music. Great lyrics and amazing vocals by Ozzy. Song that I feel like got a lot of people into metal. It's metal right down to its core. None of the genre-specific shenanigans. It's just an absolutely killer metal song, and one that practically shaped all of the genre. This is a GOAT for sure. It's undeniable. I'm going GOAT tier behind Roundabout. Schmallen says Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull, prog rock masterpiece. Ian Anderson got annoyed with a journalist calling their previous project, Aqualung, a concept album. In response, he made this 43-minute monstrosity. A monstrosity indeed. I think this is the longest song ever made, if I remember correctly. And is it consistently a 10 out of 10? I don't think so. Reminds me of Supper's Ready by Genesis, if you're familiar with that track. It's very ambitious and at points a damn near flawless song. But to keep a listener consistently engaged for almost 40 minutes with one track, I've only seen done successfully once with Long Season. This is definitely great, but I feel like I get more out of a band like Yes, who kind of does it in half the time. This time it's only 20 minutes. Apparently that's short now. S tier behind Soma. Christian Todor 9128 says My Hero by Foo Fighters. Not that crazy of a song, all things considered, but it's mostly just the nostalgia and the related feelings I get from it. One of those songs that helped me get into music. Also helps that the song itself is an absolute banger. Classic dad rock song, can't go wrong with this. Certainly not doing anything incredibly interesting, I wouldn't say, but it's definitely a fun listen and some shit you can just blast in the car and have a good time. Great lyricism too, I like the message a lot. This is great stuff. One of the best Foo Fighters songs for sure. I'm gonna go S tier, behind Kendrick Lamar. Leo Paquer says Serve the Servants by Nirvana. Lyrics made me want to start writing songs at a very early age, and I'm still learning from Kurt's beautiful songwriting. Go track for sure, one of my favorite album openers ever. After the success of Nevermind, you didn't really know where Nirvana was going to go next, and this track tells you all you need to know. It's dark, it's gritty, it's loud, it's damn incredible. I'm going behind War Pigs in the GOAT tier. Rely Walks 887 says Achilles' Last Stand by Led Zeppelin. People normally mention Stairway to Heaven when talking about them, but this song may very well overcome it too. The whole instrumental part is phenomenal, like any other Zepp song, but Jimmy Page especially did an excellent job. Hell, I'd listen to this song just for his guitar work. It's a whole ass odyssey by itself, and the whole band works together really well. The drums are masterful, the bass is too, and Robert Plant's vocals wrap everything up excellently and make the song evoke a specific feeling, like some sort of majestic journey of a lifetime that is going to define who you are as a person. That was all one sentence. I don't know about surpassing Stairway to Heaven, but I certainly think the song is on a similar level. I agree it's one of the highest peaks the band ever hit from a musical standpoint. Everyone was just kind of in their bag on that day. Couldn't have panned out much better. Incredible track, certainly deserves more recognition. I think it's GOAT tier. I'm going to go behind Close to the Edge. Jonathan Lufkin says Highway 61 Revisited by Bob Dylan. The lyrics make no fucking sense. The rhythm is perfectly engaging, and I will never ever listen to another song and think, this instrumentation sounds kind of like Highway 61 Revisited. Absolute cinema, 10 out of 10. I must agree I gained, I think, absolutely nothing from the lyricism here. He could have pretty much said anything, and the quality of the song wouldn't change much at all. It's much more about the instrumentation here, and I think that's why the lyrics are as strange as they are. Really interesting track, one I hadn't heard before, and one I can say I'm glad to have heard, to be honest. Definitely gets a little silly towards the end, a couple borderline cartoon noises, but it's very unique, and I can say I had fun. I'm gonna go S tier behind Soma. Chopping Board says The Rip by Portishead. So amazingly beautiful throughout and is able to make me feel a whole range of emotions. The middle part of the song especially gives me chills each time I listen to it. Incredibly beautiful track, I agree. Not really the instrumental work I expect when I think of Portishead, but I think it just displays how absurdly talented this band was in their prime. Really powerful vocal performance here and still has that Portishead twang mixed in there. This is great stuff. I'm going GOAT tier behind Floods. Zach DeWeenis 403 says I Hate It Too by Hum. Guitar tone is fucking insane. Drumming is fucking insane. It's fucking insane. Shout out to The Zebra. This is a phenomenal song. One of the best in their catalog, I think. This entire album is an incredibly consistent 9 out of 10, I think. Maybe Stars breaks that 9 plane, but the rest of this album has a very similar sound, and it was a groundbreaking one at the time. Inspired one of my favorite bands of all time in Deftones. Incredibly simple, I guess, but masterfully done. Fantastic track. GOAT tier behind Portishead. RJ Scooper says, Be Quiet and Drive, Far Away by Deftones. So many songs I could have chosen that have a similar impact this song had on me, but I find myself consistently enthralled by the themes of this song. There's an immense feeling of melancholy I get from this song, especially when you strip back all the layers in the acoustic renditions. It's somehow paired perfectly with a sense of acceptance, comfort, and belonging. In the core of it is a message we can all relate to, a fear of change and uncertainty of how we will adapt to it. And we want to drive far away from it. We beg to drive far away from it as fast as we possibly can in hopes of outrunning it. But at least in my mind, we stay because we have someone who loves us unconditionally and will always give us comfort and stability. Simple lyricism and Chino's harsh yet trance-inducing vocals add an erotic, uncomfortable, and yet comfortable theme to this song. That's the word that comes back to me for this song, comfort. A song about grasping onto comfort even in the most stressful and painful situations we face. Instrumentation of the song also delivers these themes. The guitar's wailing tone, the drum's frantic and manic beating, all held together by the steady bass playing. I also believe the song can be recontextualized with Chi-Cheng's passing, but I've already eaten up enough of your time for a song you've already talked about dozens of times. Sorry for the length. That already took about 20 minutes, so I'm going to keep it short. One of my favorite songs ever as well. A beautiful perspective on the track. It was go to either way. I'm going to go behind mayonnaise. Untold 13 says Wet Dream by Willie Rodriguez. I've never heard of this. This was great. I like this a lot. Really great instrumentation here. I enjoyed that thoroughly. I think the vocals were pretty average, to be honest, and vocally it's kind of corny, especially that weird part about furry porn, but let's not talk about it, huh? Going S tier behind Kendrick Lamar. Northwest Rain 2399 says Digital Love by Daft Punk. Whether I want to yearn, dance, appreciate production and mixing, clean, or have a good car ride with friends, the song never ceased to be entertaining yet also completely connective. Daft Punk is an artist I've never really given the time of day due to my trauma with the song Get Lucky. My trauma, you ask, is the insatiable amount of times I've heard the song on the radio. It's a very different song, and it's much better. I don't think that's a hot take. Really fun listen. Vocals are certainly not standard, but perfectly fit the music, and the production is absurd, as is the mixing. This was a lot of fun. I'll have to check out this project. Behind Floods in the GO tier. I'm Thinking Blap says Sleep by Godspeed You Black Emperor. Even though there's no vocals, you can still hear the story it's telling. It's tragic, nostalgic, and transcendent all at once. Another contender for the greatest song ever made. One of the most flawless pieces of music I've ever heard. 20 minutes of perfection down to the last detail, to be honest. The last section, what I think is a violin, might be one of my favorite sequences in music. Just absurd beauty captured on this track. More music snob peak, I'm afraid. It's top of the GO tier for me. Thank you very much for watching, dear viewer. Again, be sure to become a member if you'd like a guaranteed slot in these videos. Please subscribe if you enjoyed. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.